Yeah, what's happening? We about to bring that action. Gotta hold it down for my Seattle Kraken. Hey, we going beneath the waves. We going beneath the waves. Get it hype, step onto the ice. Ready for some action. Release the Kraken. Hey, we going beneath the waves. Going beneath the waves.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Beneath the Waves podcast, your weekly recap of all things Seattle hockey and beyond. I'm Matt.
And I'm Alex.
And we are going shorthanded this week. We are without Derek, who has some school-based responsibilities he has to tend to. And I told him, as the teacher of the pod and the crew, that school is very important, especially when it is school that you are paying for. So hopefully he, gets back into the swing of things and we see him back here next week, popping off all of his hot takes. And as always, we have to shout out our very own Heather as well, who has just been absolutely knocking out articles for the hockey news. She had two articles over the last little bit. The most recent one talking about the Torrens experience with going into the Olympics. We have a handful of players going there. So talking about what that experience is going to be like. As well, the Torrent just came off recently a very lengthy 17-day road trip. And she talked with Michaela Grant Mentis about how that experience went. So go check those articles out. Link is in the show notes. Hopefully we'll hear from her soon on the BTW airwaves. And hopefully, those torrents start turning things around, because it's starting to become a bit of a bummer that this juggernaut of a team is currently in the basement. I don't know how close you've been keeping up with them.
Definitely been keeping up with them. Shocked to say the least on the record. I think we both kind of discussed earlier this season before puck drop even happened that we thought that this team would be one of the better teams in the league. So it's definitely shocking to see how they've performed so far. But hopefully, they can turn it around and, salvage their season in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, still plenty of time to go. Still ironing out all the kinks. And I mean, we got a team full of killers. So hopefully those killers will start, working as a group and coming together and pulling those games off. For us here, for Alex and I, it is episode 54 of the BTW pod. On this week's episode, we're going to catch up on the last week of games. We're going to talk all the Kraken news, and there's a pretty big one that we're going to lead with right away. And we'll preview the week ahead. But as we always have to do, we're going to check in with Money Puck, and we're going to Money Puck around and find out. So, Alex, we went on the roller coaster lately. Where are we currently sitting?
Well, the roller coaster still continues with the Seattle Kraken and their playoff hopes for the 2026 season. Right now, they are sitting at a 39.4% chance of securing a playoff spot. So we are definitely in the fail category. But if you look at the division, it's anyone's game. Realistically, you win a game, you lose a game, you go up a couple points here and there. You could be in a wild card spot, you could be in an actual playoff spot. It's just such a tight division right now. But with that, we have a 3.1% chance of securing the first overall pick. So nothing really there, but it's not. I'm not feeling too motivated by this. I know there's a lot of people saying, well, if you can string a couple wins together, we're back in it. But at the same time, we're teetering on that place where it's like we're not good enough to really make the playoffs. And if we do, it's going to be like you've played the first round, and most likely you're not going to get past that first round because you're going to be playing one of the top dogs. And we're not going to secure one of those top picks. So we're kind of in that middle territory where the Seattle Kraken love to be. It's like that's where they find comfort. So not feeling too confident with this. Yeah, we have had 2 wins over the previous week, but at the same time, I'd like to see this team, really find their groove or decide that this is not their year and start trading away their assets. That's where I'm at. What about yourself?
Well, as I said a few times before, my kind of position I'm trying to have is not let my life be dictated by the wheel and what it says. I still think it's interesting to check in on and kind of see how that fluctuates. But I'm not full selling things yet and counting things out. We could go on a big 10 game point stretch like we did before. We have one of the hardest strengths of schedules remaining for the rest of the season, but you never know, something could pop off and click and suddenly we're all cruising our way into the wild card 2 spot or something like that. So I think we're very fortunate that we are in the division that we're in, because if we were elsewhere we would absolutely be crawling at the bottom, but we're right in the thick of it, packed into the middle. And yeah, like you said, just any bit of movement can have huge leaps and bounds up and down the rankings. So we'll just have to keep track. We got a couple more games to go here until the Olympic break, or a couple more weeks, I guess I should say. And I think that's going to be really telling when we hit that sort of spot there. So fingers are crossed. Now, we are an audio based medium here, but we do occasionally put some clips up and things like that as well with the video. But for the sake of our audio listeners, I am currently donning a freshly received in the mail Abyss jersey with a nice 51 on the sleeve and on the back. And I was so pumped when I put this order in, when I finally decided who I was going to get on this jersey to add to my collection. I was like, man, Shane's the future. This is going to be amazing. Tossed around some other names too. I was like, nah, Shane's a sure bet. He's gonna start going soon, as performing as he's supposed to. And then Alex, as soon as I got the confirmation that this jersey hit, I got another ping to my phone saying that Shane Wright is apparently under trade watch mode, with a bunch of people reporting that the Kraken are willing to move on from him and put him in a package to try to secure a top six forward. So before I get into your takes, I'm just going to throw it out there, and I already tweeted this too. If within the next 24 to 48 hours we get some sort of tweet notification that Shane Wright has been traded to X team, that's on me, because I have the jersey curse. So buckle up for that. But what was your reaction to these rumors in the days following and the discourse that's come? And what do you think should maybe happen with Mr. Wright?
When I first read it, there was a kind of like a mix of emotion. There was the one side of things where I was like, "Are you serious? Like, are you actually considering trading Shane Wright?" And the other side of things was, no, this managerial, this management group, this ownership would absolutely trade Shane Wright because they've absolutely screwed up his development and how they play him. So it wouldn't come as a shock for this team to start dangling Shane Wright to say, "Oh, look who we have. We could package him together with another couple, with another player, maybe a draft pick to secure, a top talent." But at this rate, do you really trust this team to even manage to acquire a top talent and trade away all these assets? Because that's my concern. Like when you look at like trading Shane Wright, his ceiling is still high. Like he's got an incredibly high ceiling. We've seen what he can do. And I think my biggest concern is they haven't played him to the degree that they should be playing him. In my opinion, they haven't given him the chances to play. Like he's played on lines with Schwartz and Kako in the last couple of games, but they've been playing him as like a fourth line player. Like he hasn't been getting the minutes. And you can have a lot of people, and I've had people argue, well, being like, well, he's been given the opportunities. And I'm like, opportunities in where what he plays 13 minutes? Like that's not an opportunity. That's just his regular, gig that he plays every day. What I want to see is, give him 19, give him 20 minutes, like throw him in the deep end, let him sink or swim. And that's what we have not seen from any coaching staff or, even having the trust of this managerial, team, you know, and I know a lot of people are going to, rip apart Chandler Stevenson and be like, well, they're not giving Shane Wright opportunities because Chandler Stevenson. And that is one of the things. Yes, that is the truth. But, Chandler Stevenson has theoretically played better. Yeah, you can look at advanced metrics and be like, well, Chandler Stevenson has been playing, by those stats, it's pretty bad. But he's also playing against some of the top end talent in the NHL. And if we're going to be brutally honest, he's not in that caliber. So for sure, his metrics are going to be all over the place. In a realistic and great setting, you'd have Shane Wright as your second line center and Stevenson playing as your third line center, but nobody wants to give that opportunity, and you don't want to put a guy making $6.5 million on your third line. When it comes to Shane Wright, I really hope the Kraken don't trade him, because I definitely think that as soon as you trade him, he's just going to blow up. And I really do believe that. Because whoever he goes to, this team is going to be like, you are a top 5 draft pick. You were highly, highly scouted for many NHL teams throughout your entire junior career, and we know what you can do. And I can guarantee you he's going to pop off as soon as he gets dealt. And everyone is going to say, "Told you so." The management team is going to look like a bunch of dummies. Ownership is going to look like a bunch of dummies. And realistically, I feel like this is more of a ownership is stressed out because they are worried they're not going to make the playoffs. And if they don't make playoffs, season tickets are going to be an issue. And really, that's all they're thinking about. When realistically speaking, this team needs to go. We have a bunch of players coming up for for their free agency because they're UFAs. Let's trade them. Let's get some great assets back, whether that be draft picks or young prospects, and play the kids. We've seen it already. Jacob Melanson comes up, and he's one of our best players. He gives that, he's that piss and vinegar that this team needs. And for some reason, when some of your quote unquote better players are injured, the Kraken play better. So I definitely feel like trading Shane Wright is a horrible idea. And I think as soon as it does happen, if in fact it does happen, not only the fan base, but I think management will be like, we screwed up because
Well,
I think all of the fan base is going to be like, you are a bunch of idiots, and you could already see it even in the discussion of the management team considering it. So for me, I'm not going to be shocked if it happens. And then regardless, I'm already pissed off because the even thought of trading him is ludicrous. But if they actually go through with it, I'm just going to be like, what the hell is this team? Because trading away someone who has such a ceiling would be absolute stupidity.
yeah, the one thing that jumps out to me that you said that was definitely in the back of my mind too is as soon as you send him somewhere, that's when he'll start
Yeah.
popping off. And the first name that came to my mind was Mason Marchment, because in 29 games with us here, he had 13 points. In 9 games with Columbus, as soon as he went there, he has 11 points, and he had a hat trick the other day. So I fully believe, like you said, that something similar would happen if he moves. And I mean, I'd be pumped for him, like as a person, if he goes somewhere and suddenly starts performing like we all hoped and thought he could, and that he is at a place where he's feeling valued and appreciated. But it will hurt a little bit that, we had this guy who was such a highly touted prospect and that it just didn't work out for us. So I don't know. It could be like a win-win-win for everybody where uh, we get some amazing player in return or someone like maybe in the same kind of boat as Shane Wright that just needs a change of scenery to get that proper chance. And maybe that can happen and we'll see something come as a result of it. There's been lots of names like tossed around. I haven't looked too deep into it because I feel like it's every other day. One of the reporters is tweeting something out, and I saw one reply to one of them. It's like, this seems like a real the sky is blue today kind of guy. Like he's just out saying something. One thing I do want to pick up on it is after the Ducks game, I want to say it was, there was the scrum afterwards, and they were talking, and Darren Brown of Sound of Hockey asked Shane what he thinks about these rumors and stuff like that. In the article on Sound of Hockey, it is called Kraken Notebook, Lambert's Approach to Poor Performance, more on Shane Wright by Darren Brown. He talks about when they were in that scrum and he asked Shane Wright how he's been dealing with the outside noise of the trade rumors about him. And he said, quote, I don't really care too much about that. It's no offense to you guys, reporters, at the end of the day. You can't really trust too much what they say. And at the end of the day, it's just rumors. I'm not too worried about that. So at least he's not, at least publicly facing saying like, oh yeah, it's true, I want out of here, like move me now and let me start packing my bags. But I think a point to take with it too is the Kraken aren't necessarily shopping him out to other teams. They are open to listening to offers from other teams. And I think there's a big difference between actively trying to ship someone out and just being open to shipping someone out. So I think that's kind of the grain of salt that all things need to be taken with. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm just gonna sit back and wait and see till something happens, whether that be at the trade deadline or kind of this mini trade deadline of before the Olympic break. We'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, I think you said that perfectly. I think Initially, when the reports came out, it came out as more as like they were shopping him. But I think as reports have kind of materialized over the week, a lot of insiders or reporters have stated it's more like they have his name out there to see, like, okay, like if we have Shane Wright with a pick with another prospect, maybe a Riker Evans or maybe another highly touted, prospect, could we get, and this is like kind of like Hail Mary, but like a Jason Robertson off of Dallas. That was one that I was like, that's probably not going to happen. But you never know with the Kraken when they are looking for that high end goal scorer. Jason Robertson fits that narrative. Friedman mentioned another one. I think it was on 32 Thoughts about a couple of days ago. And it was just a 1-for-1 basically of Shane Wright for Alex Lafreniere. The number one first overall draft pick for the Rangers a couple of years ago. I hope that, even I hope the Kraken aren't even considering that. Nothing against Lafreniere, but Kakko and Lafreniere played together on the Rangers. They didn't really do much together there. I don't think they're going to do much here in Seattle if that was the thing. So, yeah, I hope something like that doesn't happen, especially because he's got a long contract and a pricey AAV. But yeah, something I just feel like Shane Wright in the Big Apple would be something where he would just take off. So I hope they continue monitoring the situation and they listen in on potential offers and suitors. But I definitely think that they're not calling up teams to be like, hey, what can I get for Shane Wright? It's more like, hey, you come to us. We are looking for a top end talent. Shane Wright is available for the right price. Let's hear who you're willing to dangle. And if the right player comes along and they go, hey, we'll take Wright plus this plus that, but you get insert name, and the Kraken go, boy, we've been looking for a player like this for, since the inaugural season, we'll do this. But I definitely think in those types of situations, depending on the player, depending on their contract, you're definitely looking at that type of a player extending before a trade can even materialize, depending on, if they're a UFA come the summer, or if they have a longer term contract, you're definitely looking at that as well. So, a lot to look into. And as you mentioned, with the Olympic trade freeze occurring, I believe, on the 4th, it'll be interesting to see if anything happens this week. Then the trade deadline is in March. So, it's not a lot of time for the for GMs to make moves, especially with the freeze occurring in January over the Olympic break. So it's like we have like 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, if that, of time periods where where managers can make deals. So it's going to come thick and it's going to come fast. And yeah, I guess we'll see what happens.
The jaw-dropping moments that make hockey hockey. Experience them all with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Missouri listeners, listen up. DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in the Show Me state. And new customers, this one is just for you. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you will get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, pass-through of per-wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright NHL 2025. All rights reserved. All right, well, we'll table that for, maybe next week we'll have some sort of big update for, but let's look at the last week that we had here. The Kraken are currently standing at a record of 23 wins, 19 losses, and 9 overtime losses. Like we said before, we're sitting 6th in the Pacific, but it is just an absolute logjam right there in the middle. In the 3 games that were played, we had a 4-1 win over the Islanders, a 4-2 loss to the Ducks, which I put boo, alternate jersey loss because the curse returned there. But then they won again a couple days later for a 4-2 win against the Devils. So again, I have yay, alt jersey win. So we're still, jury is still out on the status of the alternate jersey curse. But it was overall, I think, a pretty good week. We had 2 wins, 1 loss. That's better than I predicted we would when we did our rundown of the preview last week. What's your like? Do you have any takeaways from this week? How are we feeling at this current point?
If we erased the game against the Ducks, we had a great week.
Yeah,
That Ducks game was horrible. And as much as my take last pod saying that the Ducks really had our number and I was completely wrong, this week they completely had our number. So I'm
yeah.
gonna stand by that. But overall, securing 4 out of 6 points this week, uh, didn't think that they had a chance against the Islanders, like whatsoever. So the way that they were able to play that game was quite impressive. And then the Devils, Devils haven't been good this year. I was pretty nervous when the game started, um, but they managed to pull that one off too. And maybe the Abyss jerseys aren't as bad as we thought when it comes to record wise. Because hey, a couple wins, they're not bad luck. So it could have been far worse. But exceeded my expectations for this week. But I'd like to see them do more.
Yeah, I have a couple takeaways from this last week of games. First of all, with that Ducks game, Lambert said in the press conference following that that was the worst 40 minutes of hockey that they've played all season. And oh my God, absolutely. Like that was painful to watch. Um, but some good things. Actually, no, I'm going to put in one more bad thing and then we'll end with the good things. In the Ducks game, I'm pretty sure it was, we gave up yet another shorthanded goal. That was 4 shorthanded goals surrendered in 5 games, which is just absolute lunacy. But that didn't happen against the Devils, so hooray. We hopefully are done with that because I don't know how many more of those I can take because I'm just yelling at my TV at this point. But the good thing that I want to highlight is from the Devils game was maybe if the previous game had the worst 40 minutes of hockey, I think the Devils game had like the best 40 seconds of hockey with the Matty Beniers goal, which again was just absolute filth to put on his highlight reel, the way that he just danced around people and backhanded it in. And then the Berkeley Catton goal that was like, yeah, 30 seconds after, or even less than that, I think. Um, from Chandler Stevenson, and I called it on our Twitter, like you love a good father-son goal because he's staying with them. And just I am so pumped that Berkeley Catton keeps finding points, whether those be goals, whether those be assists. He is currently sitting at
5 goals.
He is currently sitting at 5 goals and 6 assists for 11 points. So good on him. He is slowly moving his way up the points ladder on the team. But yeah, that Matty Beniers goal was just disgusting. And in the words of Derek, who's not here today, ewy, ewy, yucky. That was gross, yucky. Because that was pretty sweet. I am loving Matty Beniers turning into the player that we hoped that he could be for the last 3 years, and now things finally happening. And he's tied at the top of the board with Jordan Eberle for points at 34, 12 goals and 22 assists. So pretty sweet.
We're starting to see like shades or of Matty Beniers of his former self when like that full first season when he was with the Kraken where he really took off. I think we're starting to kind of figure that out. Like he's starting to score more goals. I feel like he's more confident. And that could easily just be, he's comfortable with Lambert. Like I always kind of wonder if like it's a coaching thing as well. Like if coaches expect you to play a different way, so then you're kind of apprehensive. And I don't know, maybe if he was like apprehensive more with Hackstall as it came along, apprehensive with Bilesma, and maybe he's just kind of started to warm up with how Lambert plays. He's more of a defensive minded player. Lambert likes that, but he also gives him the opportunity to score goals and assist on multitudes of goals. So I don't know. Maybe he's found that niche now with his coach and how his coach likes to play him, and maybe that's going to benefit him long term.
Yeah, and that Calder winning season, he had 24 goals and 57 points. He's currently sitting at 12 goals and 34. So he's kind of on track for being around that same amount. So fingers crossed he can stay healthy. He's played in 51 and 51 games so far this season. So hopefully he stays healthy and just keeps performing because he's gelling well, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. In terms of our discussions that we typically look at for the week, we have just a real brief injury update this week. Ben Myers was put on the IR week to week following Wednesday's game against the Islanders. As a result, Jacob Melanson was called up. I wasn't sure I wasn't able to watch the Wednesday game, so I didn't see where the injury occurred. With that in mind, I said that his head just got stuck inside the F1 helmet and they had to work to get that off. But I think there was great rejoice from the Kraken fan base when was announced to be returning to the lineup.
Yeah, I was like ecstatic to see Melanson back with the Kraken, but at the same time, I was really sad to see Myers go on IR because I feel like he's done really good this season, and he's been very, very good on a fourth line. So you kind of got to take the good with the bad with that. But with Melly back in the team, I don't know, the team just seems to gel better, and yeah, he's just one of those guys that you have him in the lineup and the team just decides that they want to play, play together as a unit. So happy for that, but Myers being injured, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, we love our calamari kids. Myers has 5 goals, 6 assists, so same as Berkeley Catton, but in a few less games. So he's definitely going to be missed, but hopefully, we get. I think Freddie right now is down centering that line with Winterton and with Melanson. So good things coming, hopefully, fingers crossed. We want to, as always, check in with our goalies, and despite that absolute dumpster fire of a game on against the Ducks, we did have a pretty good week, all things considered, in the goalie department. Grew played in 2 games. He played against the Ducks. He was 27 for 30 with a 900 save percentage. He played again against the Islanders, and he was 24 for 25 at 960. And Joey played against the Devils and was 27 for 29 with 931. So across the board, 900 or better for the week, which we've always kind of said is our barometer for success on how things go. Derek's not here to say where they currently rank and all that kind of stuff, so you got to deal with our rudimentary goalie stats and analytics this week. But how did the goalies look this week for you?
Goalies were great in my opinion. Like the fact that Grew had a 900 save percentage against on a loss to the Ducks showcases it wasn't a goaltending issue. It was more of a defensive and offensive lack, so to speak, because your goaltenders can only do so much in that game alone. But Joey having a 931 save percentage and Grew having a 960, you're gonna win games when your goaltenders are on like that. But you also need to get offense, and in both those games we had offense. So you take both of those, and it's going to create fantastic chances and usually secures wins. So yeah, nothing to complain about regarding goaltenders. I know we criticized Joey quite heavily. I think it was the last pod. But if he keeps bringing out games like that where he's bringing in 931 save percentages and such, like yeah, you're not going to hear any complaints from I don't think any of us.
Yeah, doing my best Derek impression. Here's what I can find on NHL Edge. Philip Grubauer is currently the leader in 5-on-5 save percentage with 935. So that's awesome. In terms of all situations save percentage, he's tied for second at 918. So he's behind Devin Cooley by just a smidge, and he is tied with Scott Wedgwood and Andrei Vasilevsky. So I'm again here for the Grew resurgence. I'm loving his comeback story. Hopefully, it keeps trending up because he's doing, yeah, absolutely awesome. And we talked all about that last week. So if you missed last week's episode, make sure you go back and check it out. We did have a couple happy notes and milestones happen this week. Vince Dunn became the first Seattle defenseman to reach 50 goals in franchise history on Wednesday. So very exciting stuff there. Sunday's game against the Devils was Matty Benier's 300th NHL game. Seems like just yesterday he was, taking his rookie lap around the ice, and now he's at 300. And on the Coachella Valley side, forward Carson Rakoff recorded his first career hat trick on Wednesday, which was very exciting to see. If you have not seen the highlights, any takeaways from these celebrations, these milestones we were able to pull this week?
Yeah, Vince Dunn, 50 goals with the Kraken. It's pretty awesome to see. I feel like he's it's always been a debate between him and Montour. I def for best defenseman, but I don't know why, but Vince Dunn is really he's been here longer, but like he's been such a solid player for the Kraken right from the beginning. So it's great to see him get those 50 goals. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling old. The fact that Beniers has played 300 games in the NHL, I still remember his first NHL game. So the fact that he's hitting 300 now just makes me feel old. I feel like every single Seattle Kraken fan is saying the same thing at this point. No matter your age, you're like, wait, Matty has 300 games under his belt. You're like, okay, when did that happen? And then, with Rakoff, securing his first hat trick on Wednesday, yeah, pretty awesome to see. The Firebirds are really getting their stuff together. So, but seeing him, be able to do that has been exciting, and I think hopefully his development, takes off and continues to build, so he can eventually come back up with the Kraken at some point.
Yeah, on your debate between Monty and Dunner point, Monty is at 24 goals in like a season and a half with the Kraken. So
Yeah, it's
he's
pretty
he's
good.
he's pacing and trending pretty well. So that's good stuff. Okay, our last thing that I want to talk about. You got the Canadian crew today, so you're dealing with a little Canadian outlet reporting. TSN, one of the big sports, basically Canada's ESPN equivalent, had a story go up today where they picked the face of each franchise. So there was a panel that got together and they all voted on who was the face of each franchise, like I said, who represents that franchise best. And here's how the Kraken votes went. So they didn't say how many people were on this panel, but 47.8% voted for Jordan Eberle, which I think we can agree with. That's fun, that's exciting. Second, with 21.7%, was Matty Beniers. I'm going to skip three for a second because we had tied at fourth with 4% each for Jared McCann and Jaden Schwartz. Alex, you were dumbfounded, gobsmacked, bewildered, whatever word you want to use, for the number three pick from TSN on the face of the franchise for the Seattle Kraken with 17.3% is Ronald Francis. What was your instant reaction when I sent you that screenshot?
I literally scratched my head and was what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like I was like, why Ron? Like Ron's yeah, okay. Ron was your general manager when the Kraken became NHL team, but he's not the face of the franchise. Like maybe in like a more like Godfather role, like he's the face of the franchise. But like when you think of the Seattle Kraken, I don't think of like Ron Francis as the face of the team. Like I think of like you mentioned, like Jordan Eberle is a face of the franchise. Matty Beniers is a face of the franchise. McCann is a face of the franchise. Schwartz, Decord, like you name it. Like even Grubauer's in there. Because they're the players. But to add a general manager, you're like, yeah, like Ronnie Francis, he's the face of the franchise. You're like, no, like he's like when you look at the team, I'm like, at no point have I been like, yes, this man is 17.3% worth the face of the franchise. I'm like, this guy has had fans across the board be like, what the hell has Ron Francis done to my team? And then Hurricane fans jump in and be like, he did the same thing here. And yeah, he got voted, with the Hurricanes because he was a player for them. But just a lot of head scratching. Like it's just one of those things where you look at it and you're like, it just doesn't add up because he has done some positive stuff, but like ultimately, like a lot of the things that he's done for this franchise have been negative in terms of team building, like in building his team and building his core. There's been a lot of like poor executions. Like you can say, like, well, you got Matty Beniers, yeah, but you're drafting second overall. Like he kind of fell into your lap.
Mm-hmm.
But like handing out some of these contracts or making trades or doing the lack of trades, I just don't see him being a face of the franchise. So whoever voted for him should have their vote rescinded.
So the question I'm going to pose to you, like I said, I'm pretty sure we're all on board with Ebbs being number one face of the franchise, at least over the 5 seasons here. He, um, team captain, alternate captain out the gate. He was all-star. He has 211 points, 85 goals, and 330 games with this team. But I want to ask, we're going to take Ron Francis out. Who would you slot in as like the third ranked face of this team? Would you bump one of the 4 or 5 guys up? Would you slot someone else in? Because I have a pick that I would put in there.
So it's Eberle, Matty. I would bring McCann up
Okay.
to 3. Decord would be 4, and I think Schwartz still sits in the 5th role, but I think he teeters with Grubauer. like because Grubauer has been so impactful for such a large amount of the fan base, there's a lot of negative feedback that Grubauer has had, but the positive feedback that so many fans have with Grubauer, he is a face of the franchise. So the way I kind of would view it would be Everly Beniers, McCann, like a Joey Grubauer, and then probably Schwartz. So Schwartz probably loses that top five.
All right. I would put Joey Decord in the third slot. I think his like climb to greatness in air quotes with this team is just something that made him so endeared to everybody. You look at the Winter Classic and that star-making performance. I just think that, if you were to ask people, if you go up to people around CP and say, tell me your top three Kraken, you're probably going to get Joey Decord most of that time. So I think he would be a good slot in there. But I mean, as long as you're not saying Alex Barré-Boulet or Carson Soucy or I don't know, there's probably like three people that would say Will Borgen, something like that. I think you got a pretty good guess for anyone out there.
Derek would be one of those guys.
Probably. Um, if you have thoughts on who you would name the face of the franchise, you don't agree with Eberle, you think it should be someone else, let us know at BTWSEA, and you can get your 2 cents in there. Let us know how you feel. Now we would typically have shovel stories with Derek. Derek's not here. Alex, you're currently living through like East Coast snowmageddon. So do you have a shovel story? It's probably not as star-studded as Derek's are, but how are you surviving your winter storm?
Horribly.
Oh,
It's like one of the worst winters on record, like that I can remember. Like we probably got like 2.5 feet of snow overnight, like from yesterday into today. So like my brain was like, oh, I gotta go shovel, but like I'm kind of sick of shoveling. Go outside. Sure enough, 2.5 feet of snow, but it's not like the 2.5 feet of snow that's just like right across. Like you're dealing with like a couple inches here, a couple inches there, and then you're dealing with that snow drift that's like 4.5, 5 feet tall, and you're like, this is fun. So like I don't get to talk to any of the players. I don't get to run into any of the players or shovel at the CPA. I just get to go down my go get down my driveway while I'm cussing because it's cold and I got snow in my boot and all that fun stuff and listening to podcasts. So yeah, everybody listening on the Pacific coast that doesn't deal with snow, uh be thankful because Matt can even attest to this that when you get dumped on like that, it's not fun.
yeah, here we haven't been dealing with a lot of snow, but we've been dealing with like minus 45 temperatures, which I like to tell people that is the point where Fahrenheit and Celsius become the same number. So no conversion needed for how bitterly cold it is here in the Canadian prairies. But that's enough of the weather corner. I hope that you're able to stay on top of that snow and just, survive. Get some grilled cheeses and tomato soup in here or something to keep you going. But maybe something that can keep you going is an exciting, fun-filled week of action from our Seattle Kraken ahead, as well from our Torrent. So what does our schedule for this week look like?
So the Kraken have another 3 games on the docket for this week. Tuesday they play against the Capitals at home, and it's Monty bobblehead night. So if you're going to the game and you so happen to have three Monty bobbleheads, not only myself, but Matt would definitely like one because as soon as they wind up on eBay, they literally cost you an arm and a leg, and I don't have many arms and legs left.
I'll
So
say I'll
that's
say right now, if you want to send me a Monty bobblehead, I will trade you 2 BTW t-shirts or a hoodie. Just throwing
That's
that out there.
that's pretty good. I got stickers, but it doesn't beat a shirt. Um, Thursday against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that's my old team. So I'm hoping we can secure a win against them. And then finally Saturday, it's against the dreaded Vegas Golden Knights. So it's a pretty heavy week for the Kraken. As Matt mentioned, they have one of the hardest schedules to end off their season. If I'm being honest, I'm not feeling too confident about this week. The Capitals are good, the Maple Leafs aren't, but the Golden Knights aren't either. But it's also the Golden Knights. I'm gonna be optimistic though, and I'm gonna say 2-1. We're gonna lose against the Caps, but we're gonna beat Maple Leafs and the Golden Knights. And in terms of the Torrent, they do play Wednesday against the Charge, and I'm hoping they turn things around and win that game. Matt, what are you thinking?
I think we beat the Capitals because historically we have been good on bobblehead nights, as we have brought to attention before. I think we um, shootout loss to the Maple Leafs, and I think we somehow have a very convincing win against the Golden Knights. Like it's going to be like 5-1
Like
out of nowhere.
like Joey shutout from like Winter Classic type feel.
Yeah, like I don't know, that'll be the game when we get our first hat trick of the season. I am still waiting for my prediction of 3 players getting hat tricks this season. Hopefully it'll happen soon. And then yeah, Torrent, fingers crossed they get a win against the Charge. They've been really fun to watch, but they'd be a lot more fun to watch if we get a W at the end of the night. So last thing before we get out of here, quick Coachella Valley update. How are our baby squids doing?
Well, Coachella is still sitting fourth in the Pacific, but oh boy, it is tight. It's kind of like the Pacific in the NHL. Teams are like 2-3 points between each other, so like it's neck and neck. Coachella sits with a record of 22-12-5. Yager Furcus is still sitting atop the leaderboard of the Firebirds. He's got 14 goals and 24 assists. But I think one player that we haven't really mentioned this season is Logan Morrison. He's been exceptional for the Firebirds this season. Morrison has 20 goals and 17 assists in the same amount of games played. So he has just done equally as well as Yager Furcus in that degree. Schedule for the week is as follows. Wednesday, the 28th of January, they are at home against the Colorado Eagles. Friday, the 30th, they're at home against the San Diego Gulls. And finally, they are away against the Ontario Reign on Sunday, February 1st. So some solid games coming up this week. Definitely catch them if you want to follow your baby squids. They're fun and entertaining. And hey, why not watch Yanni Newman? He's also there, and he's been tearing it up as well.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to do it for us. Thanks for dealing with the Canadian crew this week. Derek, we hope that you are back next week to share all of your analytical insights on this team. We just, we try our best, but we just can't meet his level, but we're going to keep trying. If you wanted to find more BTW line, there's a couple ways you can do that. First of all, go check out our store, bit.ly/BTW store. Get your Price is Right shirt before it's maybe a collector's item. You can get that. You can get Monty Mania. Maybe you want to celebrate Brandon Montour bobblehead night with some Monty Mania gear. You can do that. Maybe you want to celebrate Joey Decord having a really good week with his save percentage. You can go get a Joey Air Jordan style shirt. We got lots of fun stuff there. Shirts, hats, toques, beanies, stickers, all that kind of stuff. Also, as we mentioned off the top, and like we always mention, go check out Heather's articles. The link is in the show notes. You can follow her at Heather Nicole with no E, and as well at the Hockey News W to see all of her work. Please drop a follow and a 5-star review on the podcast app of your choice. It takes you 2.5 seconds, and it just absolutely makes our day. So we would love to see those 5-star ratings continue to go up, be that on Spotify, Apple, whatever the case may be. And lastly, follow us on all socials. It helps us a whole lot. You can go over to the YouTube, the TikTok, the Instagram, and just like the video, drop a comment, let us know what you think. Keep up on all our takes on Twitter and on Instagram at BTWSEA. That is at BTWSEA. I got this new jersey for a player I'd hate to see go away, but when it happens, you can hear our takes over at BTWSEA. Shout out to Derek. That one goes out to you. Do you want to hit the Derek goodbye? Bye. Bye. Take care, everybody. Go Kraken.
We going beneath the waves. Going beneath the waves.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.